Hello, how the tech are you? HK, how the tech are you?
I'm teching great.
I'm teching great. That's pretty good. That would have been another good name for the show. Teching great.
I'm great. I'm teching great.
I'm teching great. I too am teching great.
You're
Great.
You're teching great. Excellent. Right. So this is our weekly tech news show on Echoplex Media. I'm one of three hosts, and I'm historian Matt. And let's see, what's my segment for today? It is Nvidia Lies, Corals Die, Password Say Bye, and Apple Clarifies. So you with the pink microphone.
I am HK Perrin, and I am a software engineer. And my segment covers mostly software engineering news. So specifically web development, but I'll try and branch out into like application development and server development as well. And my story this week is regarding application development that I actually did recently. I have a new app called Stream Overlay, and I'm going to talk about this.
Heck yeah. And I'm producer Dave, and I'm just a talk show host. And today I'm going to be talking about the Linux software that we use here in the studio and on our servers. So Matt, nice. I believe your segment is first. Let's go.
All right, let's get going. So first part of my segment is Nvidia Lies. So this one's kind of for Dave, since we brought this up, I think it was actually 2 shows ago on our very first show. But you mentioned something about Nvidia, like people having a hard time getting GPUs, right? Because of all the miners getting a hold of them. Well, apparently Nvidia kind of lied about how many people were buying up their video cards and their chips for doing cryptocurrency mining. And the Security and Exchange Commission of the United States is basically fining him $5.5 million because of it. Now, this is in reference to 2017 when the previous, crypto bubble, not the current one that may have popped, but the previous one where everybody was getting into GPU mining and apparently buying up all the video cards. And basically NVIDIA said they didn't tell enough people or didn't express exactly how many people were buying all these GPUs, which made their sales look really high, which made people buy their stock like crazy. And then that was great until the bubble popped and also crashed NVIDIA stock.
So that like Hunter was saying, or like HK was saying, sorry, that 5.5 million. Wow. NVIDIA is going to be out on the corner. Like alms for the poor, alms for the poor.
Yeah, that was not a very big fine for NVIDIA. They probably made a lot more than that.
Instead of a guitar case,
that's just cost of doing business.
Yeah, instead of a guitar case, they're going to be standing there with just a bunch of boxes for GPUs that no longer exist, and ask you to throw $1 in the box.
Empty GPU boxes, yeah. Right. So that's what I got. I'm going to try and get through these quickly. Don't have a lot of time. So my second one is Corals Die. This one's kind of sad. I'm going to bring everybody down. I'm sorry. But apparently a chemical in sunscreen is killing corals. Yeah. Just when you thought, the corals are already having enough problems, but apparently there is a chemical that's used in most sunscreen, and I'm going to try to pronounce it. Oxybenzone, I think is how it's pronounced. It's one of the main chemicals that absorbs the UV light, and it's great for doing that. Great in sunscreen. Unfortunately, when it gets into corals, the chemical itself is fine, but then it binds with, I think, glucose, and then that molecule is deadly, basically, to corals. And it's even worse than that because a normal coral is kind of okay. They can kind of deal with it if it's not too much. But if they start bleaching, where they're, the corals are symbiotes, right? And basically have I think it's a little bit of an algae in them. And when they bleach, they're expelling that. Well, that apparently makes it even worse and makes it like super deadly. So, because the algae could actually like render the chemical harmless. So I don't know what we're going to do about that. Some beaches have been banning sunblocks because of this. They're just basically seeing this chemical in the water and surprising amounts. And so they're very concerned about it. But of course that really sucks because that would increase skin cancer. So
I'd
I
be
don't know what we're gonna do
surprised.
about that.
I'd be surprised if we didn't have a replacement chemical for that.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's
I don't know how that's gonna
there's a
work.
chemicals in the water joke here somewhere, but I can't come up with it.
Yeah. So I'll say goodbye to corals, I guess. Hope they survive. We really need them. They're really
That's
cool.
really sad.
Yeah. Better news, I guess. Password say goodbye. Not really, but Apple, Google, and Microsoft want to kill password with the passkey standard. And basically, they're just trying to come up with standards so that you don't have to actually put in a password, but instead use your cell phone. At least that's the suggested method of doing it. Of course, you don't have to do this. This is just a kind of helpful thing. And it seems like it's, if you've ever used a security key type thing, a little, security USB key, it's very similar to that. I think it sounds like it works the same way, except it's through your phone or very similar. I did not get into the deep, didn't get very deep into how the technology works, but it's very similar. So you'd basically, if you wanted to log into something, you would, whatever service would contact your phone and have you like basically log in through your phone, and you wouldn't actually type in a password, but basically say okay because your phone is there, and it's doing it by connecting through Bluetooth, so you don't actually have to have a Wi-Fi connection. Interesting stuff. I don't know if it's actually going to work out or how used it will be. We will see.
It sounds like if somebody gets into your phone in this case, they just own all your stuff.
Well, sort of. If they have your phone and they can unlock your phone, yes.
I feel like that's a whole lot safer though than someone just guessing your password and then they own all your stuff.
I guess you're right. For a lot of us, for a lot of people out there, one email account is a single point of failure for everything. And in that email account, because people don't really delete their email, is like a list of places that they could use to log into with that email.
Yep.
So maybe you're right.
And people's passwords tend to be really insecure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This might be a good time to remind everybody that if you are just an average computer user, that's a great idea to use a password manager so that you don't even know your password.
Absolutely.
And so they're like random and complicated. And some of the password managers even offer like 2-factor within the password manager. Just make sure your password for your password manager is good.
Yeah,
Yes,
I mean,
that's
most of
the
them
only
offer,
password that you have to remember that has to be good.
Yeah, most of the password managers do offer 2-factor authentication. Some of them are not great 2-factor authentication. I do suggest using a security key if you know how to do that. That is like right now one of the most secure ways of logging into something. But check it out. And
I
finally,
personally use Bitwarden and I love it.
I use
Bitwarden is
Dashlane and I love it. So, but whatever you use, use a good one, but
Yep.
use a password
Whatever you
manager.
use, it's better than nothing.
So I got one more part in my segment and I'm done. But so the last one is Apple Clarifies. So I don't know if you guys heard about this, but what was it like last week? Apple said that they were going to remove apps from the App Store that haven't been updated in a quote significant amount of time, which turned out to be like 30 days or something crazy like that. And a lot of app developers are really unhappy about this because a lot of apps, particularly like little utility apps, like you make them and you're done. Like you don't have to update them. It's not something that you continually have to change and keep up to date. You do occasionally have to make sure that your stuff works on newer hardware and newer interfaces and stuff, but it's not something that changes very often at all. And some really simple utility programs probably don't even need that. Well, it turns out that Apple decided to clarify their position so a significant amount of time specifically means like 3 years, but not really. There's also like a 90-day thing. I don't know exactly how that works together, but also you're not going to be removed only because you haven't updated your app, but also that if your app hasn't been downloaded in a year. So if you have a utility app and it's getting downloaded regularly, you're probably fine as long as it, works on the latest hardware. But that's good to know that people aren't just going to have their apps removed randomly.
I feel like if they're taking all this money from developers, like in order to have an app on the App Store, you have to pay $100 a year for the developer account.
Yeah.
So I feel like if they're charging $100 a year for that account, why have any sort of policies like this where you have to keep it updated or else it gets removed? This is ridiculous.
I don't know.
Like, if you're going to do this, then don't charge for the developer account.
That's what I would think, because they're just going to lose money, but they may have some reasons for like getting rid of broken apps or something, or old ugly apps or something. I don't know. I can't read Apple's mind.
So if nobody's downloading somebody's app in the first place and they haven't updated it in a while and Apple removes it, it would be appropriate if that's their only app for Apple to just not bill them the next time it comes around because they have no apps on the App Store. It seems like that would be like the appropriate thing. And maybe that's what's going on. Who knows? But also, like, if your app, so if it's being downloaded like regularly and something's wrong with it, you're going to hear about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you will end up having to update your app. So the thing about the time, like if nobody's downloading your app in a year, maybe it should get kicked off the store. Like nobody wants it. It's
right.
But you're paying to have it on the store.
I also think if somebody has 0 apps on the store, Apple shouldn't bill them the next time around. There's no, you know what I mean? There'd be no reason to bill that person.
Yeah, I'd say if they don't do that, if they don't stop billing you, if they kick your app off, then that should be illegal for them to do that.
I'd call it theft, petty theft, but still theft. Imagine being a victim of petty theft and the defendant is Apple.
So HK, what do you got for us?
All right. So Dave, if you want to bring up my stream overlay page, I developed an app called Stream Overlay. It's not on the App Store. It's a Windows and Linux app, and it's specifically for people who stream on something like Twitch, where you're streaming live, like Twitch or YouTube or Facebook or whatever, where you're streaming live and you have an interactive chat with the audience, and you want to see that chat on the screen that you are looking at. So like if you're playing a game, like you can see in the picture here, if you want to move over to the bigger one. Yeah, this is Control. This is the game Control. And on this screen, you've got chats coming up and a Twitch alert coming up on that screen. And the reason that I made this, if you want to go back to the README, the reason that I made this is when I'm streaming on Twitch, a lot of times I'll get chats in the chat room and I don't see them for like 5, maybe 10 minutes. And by the time I respond to them, I feel really bad because like the reason that someone would want to go to a smaller streamer is that audience interaction. No one wants to watch a stream where someone has like 2 viewers and the person they're viewing doesn't even react to them at all. So the fact that I was missing these chats was a huge detriment to both me trying to grow my channel and to my viewers who didn't get that interaction that is the whole reason to watch a small streamer. So what this allows me to do is it allows me to maintain my focus on my main monitor, or especially if you're a single monitor streamer, you only have the one monitor. But it lets me maintain that focus on that monitor and still see incoming chats and alerts on my screen, which it's super nice. I've used it, and I love it. and it works with Streamlabs. So if you really, it's just like a browser window. So if you've ever used OBS and added like a browser window, it's basically that exact same thing, except it's on your desktop instead of in OBS.
Cool.
Yeah, that is really great for for what you're doing. What you're saying there, especially for a Twitch streamer. Yeah, if there's like 3 or 4 people watching or whatever, you're going to need to respond to them if you're going to keep the viewers there. So that the next time somebody joins, now there's 5, and you got to keep that person there. So next time somebody joins, there's now 6. And that's definitely how you grow your community, because even the difference between having like 2 viewers and having 6 viewers means more people are going to get your stream recommended to them. Even in that small number ratio, like we had to learn that when we first got to Twitch, right? We figured that out real quick, that we have to be talking to the chat when we're not, except for the times we absolutely cannot. Like, for example, if we were doing this show live, we absolutely cannot talk to the chat because it doesn't make any sense for the people that are listening to the podcast later. But then, we do an after show or whatever, and we're never doing that, by the way.
Yeah, but for me, I stream games, and if I'm just playing a game, having that audience interaction is really important if you're trying to grow a channel. And I looked online, and I could only find one thing that was similar to this, and it only supported Twitch chat. It didn't support anything else. This will support Twitch chat. It'll support Twitch alerts. It'll support YouTube chat, Facebook chat, basically anything that you can put in a browser window that has, just a white background, because that's like the background, the unset background is what it makes transparent. So anything you can put in a browser window, it'll support. And that Twitch chat one that I found, the only one that I found, only works on Windows. So, yeah. This is built in Electron, so this will work in Windows and in Linux. It would work in Mac if I built it for Mac, but I don't think anyone streams games on a Mac. So, if you come across this and you want it on Mac, just, file an issue on GitHub and say, hey, can you build the Mac version? And I'll do that.
Yeah, this is super cool. I think a lot of people use it. I think even like bigger streamers might be interested in this, because even though now that our channel's established, we'll have 50, 60 people in there, I can just tune the chat out, right? Because they'll all talk to each other and nobody's going anywhere. Somebody will come in there and try to start an argument or whatever, and then I'll have to scold everyone. But I think a bigger streamer, just not having to look away ever, if you don't want to. I think there's no reason that just small streamers would use this, but it's ideal for a smaller streamer. Like you're saying, you want to be engaged in the game, but you absolutely have to engage, especially a new person who shows up in your chat.
Yep.
Excellent.
So yeah, that was the first app I've ever built with Electron, and I gotta say, Electron is awesome.
Huh. Electron is like a Chromium, right?
Yeah, it lets you build a desktop app using Chromium as what renders the UI. It uses Node.js for interactions with the file system and the devices on the computer, and then it lets you bridge those APIs across to your your actual Chromium environment. So that bridge is there to maintain security, because you could have potentially unsafe code running in the browser part, and you don't want that having access to the Node APIs. But yeah, once you understand that bridge, if you're good at writing JavaScript in Node and good at writing JavaScript in the browser, it is super easy to make an app.
One of these days, you're going to learn a Lisp and realize you've been wasting your life with these other languages.
Learn Lisp?
Just saying.
So, I've coded in Scheme before, but just one small file, which I think Scheme is a flavor of Lisp, right?
It's related. I don't remember how it's related.
Okay. But it was hard to wrap my mind around that language.
Did it have an insane number of parentheses.
Yep, parentheses
Then it was
everywhere.
a list.
Just
Yeah.
everything was surrounded in parentheses.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Examples of other Electron apps that people are going to be using a lot. The first one that comes to mind is Discord.
Yep. Discord,
Oh.
VS Code, if you're a coder, is an Electron app. I mean, Chromium is what runs Electron apps, so Chromium is arguably like it's based on the same code. But yeah, there's a bunch of apps. I think Spotify is one.
Yeah, Spotify's Electron.
Yep.
Telegram is written in Electron, or is an Electron app.
Yeah. It's a very awesome framework.
When did you write this? Was it
Just last week. So
Just last
I've
week?
only used it a handful of times, and it is awesome. It's so
Is it
great
on
to
your-
have it on the screen now.
on your GitHub?
Yep. Yeah, it's github.com/hparent, so no K in that one, /stream-overlay.
We'll try to make sure
and
that's in
it's-
the show notes
It's
as well.
If you want to Google it, it's called SylphWeed's Stream Overlay. SylphWeed is my Twitch username.
I might
Very
try
good.
it out. I might try it out on Wednesday on our show on Wednesday just to check it out.
Awesome. All right, so that's it for my segment. Dave, what you got?
Last week I went over all the hardware here in this studio, so now I'm going to talk about the software we use both on the computer here and just real quick some of the stuff that's on the servers. The server stuff isn't really that interesting, I don't think, to most people. Most of it's just running in a Docker container, so not a whole lot going on over there, and that's how I like it. So all the computers that handle audio in here are running Ubuntu Studio. And the computers that don't have to handle audio are just running some variant of Ubuntu, either like Kubuntu or regular Ubuntu. The computers that do handle audio are using the KX Studio tools for Jack. I'll make sure there's a link to KX Studio in the show notes. It provides me with a lot of basically audio routing options, such that I don't have to have a big mixer with a bunch of cables. The virtual cables are like the biggest thing in KX Studio. The application is called Claudia, and there's information about that on our wiki. Actually, the link to the wiki is included here, and it has links to everything we're using. We broadcast using obviously OBS, and that goes to our own RTMP server. RTMP is the video protocol, but the app I really like that we use to broadcast is called Butt, and that stands for broadcast using this thing. And I think that's the coolest name for an app that I've ever seen. It's a very old app. It's just, for a long time, it was not being updated, and I was terrified that one time I'd go to try to install it and it wouldn't work. But over the pandemic, as with many things, the development on it kicked back up again for whatever reason, maybe people being at home or whatever. We also, OBS connects to an RTMP server. OBS is also used to record things that we're going to use, like this show. But is also used to record audio so that I have backup of the audio in case something happens. At least I'll have the audio. And I like that the app is called Butt. Have you noticed that? The thing I might talk about next week is Video Ninja. It's not even really an application. It's a system by which you can bring other people or even their screens onto OBS without having to use like Skype or Discord and do like a window capture of that. It allows you put each person in, they get a link, and then you put each person in as a browser source, and then you can move their window around and kind of put it wherever you want in OBS. And that's way better than the several meltdowns I had trying to use Skype when we first started doing this. I don't know if anybody remembers me getting very angry with Skype and Discord. Those are
I remember that.
Those are perfectly fine applications. They're just not built for broadcast, especially not if you're trying to have like a few people on. Whereas Video Ninja, if you're watching the video of this right now, I mean, the audio is great. The video looks fine as long as everybody's internet connection is good. And it allows us to do panel shows for the music show. And the number of parameters and settings you can just put into people's links is amazing. I suggest checking out Steve Seguin's channel for more information on that. And like I said, next week I might do a whole segment on Video Ninja. So also to bring in people, sometimes people aren't going to come on with video, right? So we'll use Discord, and they can just hop in the Discord voice room, like if they want to argue with me or whatever. Also, we have a old timey phone system for people who have a rotary phone and want to tell us whippersnappers how it was in their day. And I know HK is a connoisseur.
It's not around me.
You're a connoisseur of rotary phones, right?
Yep, I have. Actually, I have 3. One of them came from you.
Oh, that's right. Technically, it came from the Media Winch.
Yeah, that one's awesome. It's the old AT&T. What's it called? Model 500, I think it's called.
Oh yeah, I don't know any. You knew what it was, and I was like, well, you can have it. I don't care about it. It was just sitting in the studio as if we were going to answer it. If it rang, I would have been really concerned because it wasn't ever connected to anything. So for post production, video editing is, and to the extent that I really do editing, whatever, it's done using Caden Live. Audio editing, we just use Audacity to edit audio because we're not really multi-tracking, so we're just hacking the ends off of things and inserting like promos and stuff. But if I do have something more complicated that I need to do, like if I multi-track a band in here or whatever, I will do the editing in Ardour, which is a great like full-featured DAW for Linux that is, as powerful probably as what people are using to produce music. Just not used as much because most people aren't on Linux. Also on here, didn't mention it, and it's probably not super important. I also use Blender to just create quick stingers and stuff. I am not good at 3D modeling, and I haven't really explored its video editing capabilities, though some people do swear by Blender as a video editor. Caden Live.
I used to use it. I much prefer Caden Live.
Yeah, and Caden Live has like gotten like just so much better in the last 3 or 4 years. Like it was like crashy and stuff before. Now it's like rock solid, stable. It spans across cores a lot better. Like before, it would just pin one core, and then maybe you'd see the others hit like 30% or something. Now when you go to render, it'll just pin all your cores, and it renders like much faster. And it's just, yeah, the improvements they've done on that application in the last couple of years are astounding, considering it's a all volunteer team over there at KDE.
A small team too.
Yeah, they do a hell of a job over there.
Did a little editing with Blender's video editing there, and it seemed like it was a video editor attached to a 3D renderer thing. So it didn't really feel like it was his own thing.
No, it
had much love.
It didn't feel like that to me either. But Blender, like even if you're just doing real simple stuff and you're not too deep into it, Blender is just amazing. Once you kind of figure out the lay of the land in Blender, it's not that hard. But then again, the things I'm doing are like, hey, I would like some rainbows and some text. So it's not like I'm not like I would like a 3D model of the stuffed alien in the studio. No, that's different. Someone else can do that. I would pay for that though. So that's all the stuff on the computer systems here. I didn't get super deep into it because first of all, it's kind of hard to describe some of this stuff because a lot of it's visual, even though most of the apps are audio. But there's links on our wiki, and the link to the wiki page about the studios on our website, and there's links to everything that I've mentioned both in the hardware and the software segment. And then just real quick on our servers, we're on DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean is a sponsor of the show. If you go to the support us page on echoplexmedia.com, and you can get a $200 credit for DigitalOcean. And once you spend $25, we get that $25. So I don't know if you need any of this server stuff, please use our link. You can support the show that way and try it out for free. So we have an internet radio system that runs. It serves 2 purposes essentially. One purpose is to give people an audio only feed, a very low bit rate audio only feed. So if they're like jogging or something and want to listen to a live show, they can, and they're not going to have to like run a video in their pocket. I know Twitch has an audio only mode, but also we had a system like this installed prior to doing video, so we kept it. It also lets us connect direct, like you can go to TuneIn Radio, and you can't really find a Twitch stream on TuneIn Radio, but you can find ours. It runs a software package called AzuraCast, which includes just the IceCast, standard IceCast, and a program called Liquid Soap that does all of your song scheduling, your song shuffling. It's a player. And this is all running in a Docker container, which makes my life very easy. You can find that at eplex.xyz, whether or not we're live. When we're live, you get the live feed. When we're not live, the music's on shuffle, and you can even request songs. This software package when I needed to when I broke our server, basically needed to reinstall it. I found this software package and it has exceeded all of my expectations. It is a very good software package. It's very stable. And it's what we use to connect butt to the broadcast using this thing that I was talking about earlier. We have a multi-stream service. We're not running, we're not using like Restream or whatever. We have our own server and it just runs RTMP on an Nginx server. It's simple. It was a one-click install. I had to go through and do some of the configuration and stuff, but it was very easy. And it's, I don't know, it's about the same price as doing it on somebody else's service, but it's fun to mess with. We have a phone call queue system and we're running it on a kind of an old project called Asterisk. And, yeah, that's how we get our phone calls when no one calls us. So please call us during the post game of the Sunday and the Tuesday show, because I do have to pay a little small bill for something called trunking every month. And if nobody calls, I feel silly paying for that. And then our wiki is just running on a wiki.js, and that's also just in a Docker container. And
we have a wiki?
And all this stuff is open source. Everything that I've mentioned here is open source software, and it all runs on just a standard Linux server. Most of it's fairly easy to maintain, and I don't know, it makes me sound interesting at parties.
Cool.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Well, I guess that's my segment. Back to you, Matt.
All right. I think that's everything. Wasn't expecting Dave to throw it back to me. And I don't know what we do to close off the show. So Dave, what should I be saying to close out the show? Or does anybody else have anything else to add?
Oh yeah. Yeah. HK, what anything to add?
Let's see. I did want to add something. I wanted to add you know what? I don't remember what I wanted to add. So let's go ahead and close the show. Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, sure. You're getting better at closing the Wednesday show, so you can start making up the closing for this show.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for How the Tech Are You? This is episode number, is it 3?
It is.
3.
Yeah, episode 3. And we'll be back next week with more tech news for you. And until then, I don't know, don't get your tech news from anywhere else. No, like and subscribe, or subscribe to the podcast if you're listening to the podcast. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, put the bell on, all that stuff. That's it. Have a great week.